was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight, don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase, so catch me if I fall. Praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap, I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks, listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast, don't remember life before you, that's fact. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight, don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase, so catch me if I fall.
Hello. Sean, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Darren.
Glad to hear it. Did you notice who popped in during your countdown?
Puerto Rico. Humberto.
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 Humbert.
No, remember the H is silent. Humberto.
I'm not saying the H. Humberto. Say it for me.
Humberto.
Humberto.
That's close enough.
Humberto. See, the English language, we don't roll any of our letters. So a lot of languages, they roll their R's and other words. So, buenas noches, Darren and Sean. Buenas noches, that's good evening, right?
It's close enough. It actually means good night, but it translates more into good evening, yeah.
Yeah, well, buenas noches. I'd make a terrible Latin, dude. Buenas noches, Humberto. We are so glad you're here. I was thinking, I just don't know any Spanish. Sorry, man. Yeah, I don't know what that. Are you reading that, Sean?
Yeah. He's saying that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we'll just leave the white boy out of the mix. Thank you very much. Hey, I noticed that you have altered or changed the background, Sean.
Yep, trying to reflect more the beach that you like so much, that you spend so much time at.
And for all you party people out there, that is a picture of Huntington Beach Pier, Surf City, USA. And I have no idea how that became known as Surf City, USA. I mean, it's got good waves generally, but I don't know, really pales in comparison to so many other places in the world. And Mark Rizzo is back. And every time I see your last name, Rizzo, I think of Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta. There's got to be a Rizzo in there. Or maybe I'm thinking of, what's the one with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John? Sean, do you know that? Like 80s musical?
Oh, this part 2 is Saturday Night Fever? Or Saturday Night?
Oh, man, what is it? They got all these. It's
Grease?
a total musical. I think
Grease?
she might have a friend named Rizzo.
Grease?
Oh, Grease. I think you're right. I think it's Grease. And Humberto's talking more Española back at you. Oh, apparently Mark speaks Spanish too. So I'm the only white boy that doesn't speak Spanish in the audience. Dope.
He's saying that's how you learn. That's the way you learn. That's it. Yeah, just translation.
Yeah, making You know what? That's the story of my life there, making endless mistakes. But honestly, that's part of why we're doing what we're doing. In the the topic of detailing is so you guys don't have to make the same mistakes that I made or that Sean made. That's part of the goal, because it's a smart man that can learn from his mistakes, but it is a wise man that can learn from other people's mistakes. And I lean into that. So I'm always trying to absorb new information and always be aware so I can learn from other people's mistakes so I do not have to repeat them and learn them the hard way. Okay.
Also, real quick, Darren,
do you guys want a moment where you guys can all speak Spanish and I'll just leave the room for a bit?
No, actually, I was going to say, hey guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really help us out.
See up there in the left-hand corner, like, share, and subscribe. Ha 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 ha. Yes, Mark, that is funny AF. And by AF, I mean Auto Fetish. Hey, Sean, I never did get to finish my thing yesterday.
What exactly?
You don't even know what it is. What's that?
So you can talk about anything you want as long as you keep under 5 minutes.
See, you rain all over my parade, man.
You gotta do it.
Okay, so for example, I was asking you to teach me, how to detail a car. Okay, teach me detailing, how to detail a car. And you really didn't answer the question, and that's when we bounce onto Amazon. But the point is if you were to go onto YouTube and type in how to detail a car, what type of videos do you think would come up, Sean?
I don't know. I haven't looked it up in a while. But
well, I can tell you what would come up. Okay. All kinds of tutorials on how to basically wash, shampoo, and clean stuff. Okay. Which is valid. And that's, I suspect, what most guys think when they say, oh, I want to learn how to detail a car. So my latest course that I'm working on is, yes, it's how to detail a car, but it's not the process of detailing a car as in like how to shampoo a floor mat or how to clean car leather or how to wash a car. Mine is all about these steps, and more precisely, the steps you take. So for example, where do you start? Where do you end? And the 150 steps in between. And why do you think that'd be important, Sean? The proper steps. Like, did you answer me this? If you can think back to your first detail, and I know I'm still within 5 minutes, by the way. If you can think back to your first, hey, by the way, guys, if you have any questions, throw them out at us, because Sean's going to be over here and he's going to throw down the hammer on me when I end my 5 minutes, and he's going to expect you guys have some questions. But if there's no questions, then Darren's just going to keep rambling on about what he considers important stuff. Okay, so there's questions, but my 5 minutes aren't up yet.
Remember,
so Sean,
no. You gotta stop. We have to talk to the audience, and then you continue on.
There's not a rule, just a logical process. Okay, yes, but so Umberto, what I'm referring to, which you might be suggesting here, is where do you start? So in simple terms, do you start with the interior or the exterior?
Exterior.
Now most people, what?
I always start with the exterior.
Interior or exterior?
Exterior.
Exterior. Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I know you start with the interior, so it's just
there's a reason, and that's part of my point. Yeah. In fact, if you were to go to my channel, one of the community polls I did is if you had a blueprint, basically if you had a cheat sheet on how to give quotes to people, and you also had a process of how to complete the steps of detailing, which one would you prefer? I thought it would be unanimous. I thought everyone would, or the most of the people would want the what I consider my cheat sheet on how to work through the questions and give a price quote. I was really surprised how many people wanted to know the actual process, which is what I call the sequence, meaning where do you start? What do you do next? How do you not get lost in the details? Because if you can remember back, Sean, when you're detailing, I suspect, because I can remember when I first started, it's like, okay, I pulled out the floor mats, I vacuum it. It's like, okay, I'm going to shampoo the floor mats now. And then it's like, okay, now where do I start? Should I start in the back seat and work forward? Or should I start in the front seat in the driver's compartment and work backwards? Or wait, should I start with the trunk first, get that out of the way? I'm not sure. And you would say it's pretty trivial, right? But when you are trying to become as profitable as possible, it's not so trivial anymore, because what you find, if you don't have a systematic process, um, a sequence, then you find yourself not only getting lost in the details, but you're questioning your next step as you're working, and you realize that now you're being redundant, or you're repeating steps that are unnecessary to repeat. That's why sequence is so important. It's all about profitability. But of course, if you don't want to be profitable or you don't care about it, then it doesn't matter. You can start anywhere. That depends on how you want or how your customers want it. Did your customer ask for the interior detail or well, this is based on, Humberto, that it's a full detail. Obviously, if your customer doesn't want a full detail, then you're not going to do a full detail. You're only going to do what they want. I'm putting forth that question based on a full detail, which in my experience was pretty much, I'd say 90% of my jobs was a full detail. I'm sure they exist. I would really have to search my memory to conjure up images of when I only did an interior. Now, I did plenty of exteriors only, which was basically paint enhancement or paint correction jobs. But because that's one of the things, like you might be able to weigh in on this, Sean. My demographics was basically, I'm going to say 90% men. Now, there's a difference between the genders. Women care more about the inside. Men care more about the outside. So if 90% of my customers are men, then logic would suggest that if I'm going to have a separation between interior and exterior, I'm going to get more men that are concerned with doing the exteriors, which is what I got. But like I said, still, I don't know, 90% of my jobs are full details, which that comes down to efficiency. Efficiency equals profitability. This
Question.
is my daughter.
All right, when you're done, we have tons of questions.
I have a question. Is there any way to make the mental anguish of detailing your interior go away? I sense sarcasm there. Do you sense sarcasm there, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I wish I had an answer for that. Mental anguish. I guess we would have to define what you consider as being mental anguish, Mark. Personally, I would say that when I'm detailing for a customer, my mental anguish comes in the form of time constraints. Let me be more specific. Mine comes in the form of being profitable. I was always driven as this personal challenge to see how profitable I could be. Now, if you actually operate your own detailing business, you can appreciate this, which is this. You're going to give the customer some kind of price quote before you start. Now, I never give a hard price quote to a customer. I always give a price spread. Typically, it's going to be a spread of either $50 to $100. For example, let's say I'm quoting a full detail, and I'll just run with what I think is sarcasm, Mark. Let's say it's an interior detail, and let's say I'm quoting on it, and let's say I'm quoting the customer based on the answers to the questions I've asked. I'm guessing that this is going to take about 3 hours worth of work. And I'm going to verify with the customer if they expect me to do a complete wash and an interior. So I give them a price. Let's say it's $300. Now, when I get there, if I've already determined it's $300 because, well, all right, I'm tripping over my words right now because you're forcing me to go back into real time, the real world. So I give a price spread. So if I, through a series of questions, have determined that this is basically a $300 job, but I know I can make them happy for $250, that's going to be my spread. So I'm going to tell them, hey, based on what you're telling me, I'm going to charge you between $250 and $300. When I get there, you and I will inspect it together. and then I can give you a hard price at that moment once I see the car. Now, most people, when I tell them that, when I'm there looking at the car, they're going to usually say, okay, well, what's the difference between a $250 job and a $300 job? And I'll say, well, it's literally about the details, meaning this. If you tell me that you're more committed to results and you don't mind spending the extra $50, then I will take extra effort when I see it needed so that I can deliver better value to you. Most people like that idea, but this is where the anguish comes in, the mental anguish, which is, okay, now customer goes in the house and now I'm time to do my work, my magic. Now I'm going to race myself against the clock so that I can complete that job, not in 3 hours, but I'm shooting for 2.5 so that I can be more profitable by only spending 2.5 hours on that job instead of 3 hours on the job. Therefore, that's where my mental anguish came from. And it was real and significant. Also, what do you offer and what can you do? Don't sell something you are not experienced on. Excellent point, Umberto. Definitely, which would kind of come under the context of overpromising. I am of the opinion that I want to underpromise and overdeliver, which is part of managing customer expectations. See right there, Umberto, basically what you just described is exactly what I do. And I bet if you and I could talk in real time, you and I would compare notes as to say, okay, well, why do you start with the interior? Why do you do the engine next? So for example, Umberto, how about this one? Pretend you're done with the interior and now it's time to bounce to the exterior. What do you do first? Do you do a complete wash first and then the engine? Or do you do the engine first and then a complete wash? There's a, and I've come to the conclusion that there's no right or wrong way. It's just a preferential moment. So you can answer me that question, Umberto. Which would you do? He's responding to Mark. Florida heat and interiors don't mix. Dude, I'm curious what part of Florida you're in. It doesn't really matter. Oh, there you go. 92% humidity. Yeah, see, here in California, in Southern California, the worst times for me or any mobile detailer is going to be starting in June, and it slowly ramps up to, I would say, probably the middle of August into September, where the humidity, we get about 4 weeks to 6 weeks of high humidity. And by high humidity, it's all relative. We never experienced 92%, not here. But high for us is going to be like 65%. And it's 100 degrees outside and you're in direct sunlight. And you can relate to this, Sean, because you and I remember talking about this, where it's you're sweating so profusely that you crawl into the back seat of a car. Like imagine a black Porsche. You have to pull the seat forward, crawl into the back seat. There's no ventilation back there, meaning you're getting no wind current, and you are just sweating up a storm. And now you're literally trying to mop up your own sweat as you're trying to simultaneously detail the interior. That is a challenge. I would do the engine for, let's see, for me, whenever one comes with a pet, hair removal, or smoke, because I am allergic to both, so I have to wear full PPE. That's funny. I suspect you probably meant PPF, as in paint protection film. I call it a full body condom.
No, he's
Mark.
talking about PPE, which is it's like the gloves, the mask. That's what it means. PPE is like protective for in the janitorial industry. We use that all the time. So that's what it means. Yeah.
What's up, Kaz or Kaz? So Brian says he would do the engine first. Oh, engine first, then complete wash. Okay, yes. Yes and no. And once again, this is preferential. So when I teach it in my courses, I say, okay, which do you prefer? So for example, let's say you kind of have a particularly dirty car, and now you do the engine, you're going to get overspray on the exterior. And like if you're working in direct sunlight, I want to manage that overspray because it's going to go all over the front windshield as you're hosing it off, whether it's a pressure washer or a garden hose, you're hosing it off. So yes, the engine's getting clean, but you're making a big mess around the perimeter of the engine bay, up on the windshield, down on the side fenders. And so now if you're trying to manage your water because you don't want it to dry in the direct sun and water spot up, you're going to have to wipe it up. So if you have a dirty car, that means that you're wiping it up with the dirt. So therefore, typically I will do a full wash only, meaning just to get the bulk dirt off, what I call the superficial dirt. Now I'm detailing the engine and I'm getting that dirty overspray on the perimeter of the engine bay. And now I can just wipe it up and not really worry about me, wiping it up with the dirt and grime of the superficial dirt. So there's me going on record. That's the order I would do it. So CAS or cause? What do you think, Sean? A double A, cause?
Yeah.
Cause, yeah. We'll go with that. Cause, if we're saying that incorrectly, you can correct us. Because once I'm done with it, you don't have to get in and waste time back. It means something that you got. Yeah, bingo, Humberto. Also, excuse me, something to consider doing the interior is dry time. Especially, for example, is it Mark that's in Florida? When you have high humidity, it's going to slow down your drying times of the upholstery. So if you're having to use a lot of liquids, liquid cleaners, or let's say you're using an extractor, you really need to be conscientious of the drying time, which is why cause, I don't know. See, I could pronounce that differently. Personal protection equipment. There you go. I knew. Yes, I stand corrected. Yep, but that's my full body condom. So drying times are critical, which is why I start with the driver's compartment. Well, let me tell you guys exactly what I do. When I'm doing my inspection with the customer, I'm going to take note of overall dirt, what type of dirt, is there any stains, is there any heavily soiled areas that are going to require more liquid cleaners. So if there's some excessively soiled areas that I know I'm going to have to use excessive amounts of cleaner, I will do those areas first to maximize the drying time. Then once I've knocked those out, then I'm going to start with the driver's compartment because once again, I want maximum drying time. Now, if you're cleaning leather, it's a non-issue because that's a watertight material. So drying time's not a point, but let's say it's cloth upholstery and now you have to use, healthy amounts of cleaner on the driver's seat. I don't want Johnny customer having to come in when I'm completely done and know that there's still a little dampness to their driver's seat. So therefore, I will start with that area first and then work through the rest of the interior. Up. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Just a username I made up. Gotcha. So we could call you KAAZ, which would be a mouthful. So I'm just going to go with cause. Let's see here. If you do extraction, everything in the interior gets dry fast because of the heat, and even using the air movers all dries fast. Yeah, and really it's not a problem for me either, but I still don't want to take the chance. Also, why I don't start with the exterior is because if you started with the exterior, and let's say you took it to completion, now guess what's happening as you're detailing the interior? Sean, do you know what's happening? I'll tell you. Your exterior that you just got done detailing is going to sit and collect dust as you're doing the interior. So what are you going to have to repeat when you're completely done? You're going to have to touch up the exterior again, right? So that would be redundancy. Redundancy is not efficient. If you're not efficient, you're not as profitable as you can. So you want to engineer every type of redundancy out of the equation, which is why I do not start with the exterior. The only time I'm going to start with the exterior is if I decide I want to just wash it, do the wheels and tires, decontaminate it, and then I'm going to bounce into the interior, do that completely, and then I'll just add this little caveat why I actually don't even recommend that, because when you're working with water, which most of us will be, in most cases, the ground you're working on is not going to be completely flat. So what's going to happen is you're going to get areas that will pool up with your wash water. And now when you're trying to detail the interior, you're dragging your electrical cords through the pooled areas of water, or you're dragging your vacuum hose through it, or your feet are just getting wet in and out, and then you're not able to set your cleaning materials out on the pavement. So all roads lead to the same conclusion. Start with the interior, then bounce out, do the engine first, wash it first. That really, to me, is more a preferential thing. Grandma is in the house. Detail grandma. So I wonder if that's legit. And by grandma, in most cases, that's going to put you, I don't know, at a minimum, let's see if you could start birthing children. Let's just say at a minimum, you're probably going to be at least 36 years old. If you really are a female and you really have offspring and they've already produced you a grandchild, thumbs up to you. Laundry called me. I can't read that because your logo's in the way, Sean. Exterior will be getting dirty from the interior. Yes, exactly. So not only is the exterior going to be prone to just collecting dust, but as you're working on the interior, you're going to be kicking up more dust and more dirt. Detail grandma Chris here finally made it. Laundry called me Humberto. Oh, apparently you two know each other. Okay, cool. Glad you guys can meet up here. Yes, she is a grandma. So more power to her. And detail grandma, what part of the country or the world, 53 years old, and you're detailing? Like, I feel your pain, man. I'm 50. I'll be 59 next month, and it is hard work. And I have 0 grandkids, by the way. In fact, it's only recently that one of my numerous children got married. All others remain single and not. Oh, shoot, I already forgot. I will be a grandfather pretty soon. My son announced a few weeks ago that he and his wife are now pregnant. That will be my first grandchild. So right on, detail grandma. And man, props to you if you can do detailing at that age. I mean, it's I've actually used a couple females in my business. The first one was my sister, and this was decades ago. She was probably in her 20s, and she probably lasted 3 months. And then it was my daughter, my oldest daughter, and she would have been 27, and she lasted a year and a half. But at the end of the day, you know what these girls realize? They just get really tired of being dirty, because you just get dirty detailing cars. Wichita, Kansas. All right. Dorothy and Toto. Very good. December 1st, or is that just December? I will be 57. I'm curious.
On December, I'll be 57.
Oh, on December. Well, that probably narrows it down to like what, 29 or 30 days. It's very hard some days. It's only some days. How about like every day? Yes, thank you, detail grandma. Thank you, and congratulations for propagating the herd in your own way. Thanks, Umberto. You know what's great about grandkids? You get to give them back. That is so true. I've always heard people say that. You get to spoil the snot out of them and then send them back home. What is your approach to cleaning vents of smokers or pet owners' cars? Okay.
That's a good question, by the way.
Very good question. Hey, any of you party people that have not liked or subscribed this yet, please do. You know what? I don't know about you, Sean, but when I watch people on YouTube, we all have to pander to these stupid algorithms, and it does suck, but it is relevant. Anyhow, what's my approach to cleaning vents of smokers and pet owners? You know what? My biggest approach is called managing expectations. So I will have a very specific conversation with customers and let them know, because I have found that very few people understand what I call the three-dimensional world. What I mean by this: smoke, think about it. Inside of a car. Now, inside of a car is made up of two basic materials, porous and non-porous. So on non-porous materials like hard plastics, rubbers, leather, that smoke will just sit on the top, let's just say. I mean, we could go down that wormhole if we want, but I'm not going to do it. So it's going to sit on the top. It needs to be clean. But now we have porous materials, meaning porous. It's filled with types of fibers and pores, which means that that smoke can go deep inside those pores. All the cloth, the velours, the carpeting, you name it. So I tell my customers, like, think about smoke filling the inside of your interior and now is permeating into every conceivable pore of all the porous materials. And then, for example, like your question, into the ventilation system. So that smoke is going to go into the ventilation system. They're driving along. They probably have their AC on or their heater on. The fan's going. It's sucking all that, like right there, Sean, your smoke. You're just blowing. It goes everywhere. Like there's nowhere it's not going. So realistically, it's virtually impossible to treat every conceivable surface or microscopic pore to get that smoke out of there. Now, someone in here, if they know, will probably say, oh, that's why you have to do an ozone machine. Yes, ozone machines are effective because it basically creates ozone in the atmosphere of the interior, and you can suck it through the ventilation system. But I personally, I was not into the ozone machine. It was just one more tool I had to carry around. You have downtime. I just didn't deal with it. I always found it best, or I should say, I found it the simplest way was just managing the customer's expectations at the beginning and saying, hey, by the way, how do you get rid of smoke? You do a very intensive detail, which is why I'm here. Secondly, you quit smoking in your car. Thirdly, just know it's not going to be gone entirely. And fourthly, what you will know is that if you do stop smoking, and I do this intensive detailing, the detail that I'm about to do, it will dissipate over time and it will become a non-issue. So that's how I deal with it. Best thing about being a grandpa is you can laugh at your kids' mistakes. Yeah. One of many things I hear. Hi, Grandma, from your big fan. I'm 77 and still kicking. Well, good for you, Eric. But how about this, Eric? Are you still kicking as in life in general, or still kicking in life in general as well as detailing in general? I always tell my kids when their kids are active full, that is a payback for what you did to me. Is that not the truth? I mean, yes, payback's a bitch, or what's that saying? Karma's a bitch. I wouldn't really call that karmic, but yes. And how about this? Because I have 3 kids biologically, and then I have 2 stepkids. And it is just interesting how they just are not alike. They come from the same genetic code, or they pull from the same genetic code, but my word, they are so different. Yes, you can see the genetic code physically and intellectually and psychologically or mentally, but they just come out so different. It's bizarre. A little time of the day and make them, oops, you pulled that away a little quick. And enjoy the grandchildren for a little time of the day and make them agitated. Then you have to leave to their home, and you're just has to deal with it, not you. Yeah, now you're being a little sadistic there, but I'm going to call that mischievous, and I'm right there with you. Like, for example, I have some little, let's see, would they be my little nephews? Let's see, I got to think about this. I am terrible when it comes to the family hierarchy. So I have 4 sisters. Their kids have produced, because I'm their uncle, point is so if I'm their uncle, they would be my nephew. So let's say I have a little 3-year-old nephew, and like their parents, they kind of freak out when I get around them because I'm going to stir the pot. So I'm going to like toy with their brain, and then I'm going to do kind of daredevil things with them. And it's like, oh no, there's Uncle Darren doing stuff that we don't want him to do. So I'm right there with you, Umberto. Totally karmic. Sean is laughing. Yeah, Sean's laughing internally.
Well, actually, go ahead. Finish your sentence, and I'll tell you what I was going to say.
Okay, I'm done with my sentence.
So I was going to bring up the smoking question. I've actually
Yeah.
used a product before that works really well.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, so I'm going to share. I'm going to do the share screen real quick.
Okay, go for it.
So this product right here, the Funkaway smoke odor thing.
Is that like an aerosol bomb?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say there is those things, the bombs. There's different versions of them. I personally have never used one.
I have.
Yeah.
So I had a customer who bought a car and it smelled like cigarettes.
Yeah.
And I told him that I see what I can do, and I used it and it worked.
Oh, really? Well, that's cool. Did you also do an interior detail before you did that?
Yeah, it was interior detail only.
Okay. So let me ask you this: did you use the bomb after you're done cleaning it, or before?
Afterwards.
Okay.
So I did, and it was the reason why he called me to begin with was because there was vomit in the back seat. And so it was the kid got sick and vomited. So that's the reason why he called me. And then he said, by the way, my car smells like cigarettes. Can you get rid of them? I'm like, yeah, I can. Oh, I didn't say I can. I said, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I never
do my best.
Yeah. I never, ever promised anything. I always said, well, let me see what I can do and maybe I can improve it. But I knew that I could make it much better before.
Yeah. That's like we touched upon. You're under promising.
Yeah.
And then you can over deliver. Before I answer this, let me, like, whoever is live right now and whoever watches this post game time, I want to know what you guys consider the 3 worst. Let's go with just the 3 worst smells to try to clean from an interior. Do you have an opinion on that, Sean? Because I know what my 3 worst nightmare, and I don't know whether to label it as to stains, because it's not, see, stains are one thing. Stains are visual, like any colored drink, any colored liquid, any colored anything. It doesn't matter what it could be. Nail polish, could be makeup. And I don't mean like beige makeup. I'm talking about like colored makeup, coffee, tea. So those are visual stains, which are a pain in the butt, by the way. But what I'm talking about is the bifecta, which you have a visual stain perhaps, and, or not necessarily and, or it can be a residual smell. So that's what I say is, what are the 3 worst smells in trying to deal with when it comes to interior? Mine is gasoline, spilled milk that has rotting, or mildew. Those are the worst. And all I can say is, if that is part of your world and your moment that you have to deal with, good luck with either 3 of those. Those are the worst. See, I've cleaned up many vomits moments, and I personally have always had really good success with vomit. To me, once again, it's the mildew, gasoline, and spilled milk. Those just can be so difficult, especially from cats. Okay, so I'm an amateur detail geek, and this is Eric, right?
Yeah.
Did he say something earlier, or is this his first?
This is first. He said something in an earlier video.
Okay, he's Canadian, so oi or I. What do Canadians say? They have a little.
They go A.
Yeah, it's just A. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm an amateur detail geek and detail our SUV and our friends' cars. Well, that's kind of you to detail your friends' cars. I suspect that you're probably not doing that gratis, but you're getting a little compensation for that. So good for you. The bio bombs. Okay, I've never heard the bio bombs. I mean, honestly,
I can look it up.
Fortunately, in my world, baby formula. Oh my gosh. Flashback to baby formulas. Don't even get me started. That is, yes, baby formula is bad. Bad, bad, bad. But boy, did baby formula save the day. Talk about instant food. Oh, those nights, those early mornings, waking up, go feed the baby. Or the breast pump. My first wife, she would use the breast pump to stock up on the breast milk. See, I've cleaned up pet shit. I've cleaned up pet urine. I've cleaned up pet blood as well as human blood, which, by the way, is difficult. Although my go-to trick for blood is hydrogen peroxide. In case any of you guys have to deal with blood, I found hydrogen peroxide is very effective for removing certainly the color. I mean, you could obviously get into the whole biohazard component of it, but
actually,
as far as the color, what?
I have a secret for removing blood from cloth or carpet.
Do tell.
It's a paint thinner.
Really?
Yeah. So if you grab paint thinner and
but how about this? Like, I feel like that is gonna reak. Like it'd be really hard to clean out after the fact.
No, because you have to use like a drop. Like
yeah.
You two drops of it.
Yeah.
And then you grab a brush and with hot water, and it comes right off.
Oh, interesting.
But you have to be really careful. You don't want to use too much. If you use too much, it will destroy it. So that works really well. I learned that obviously in janitorial, not car detailing.
Yeah. So. Well, my go-to has always been hydrogen peroxide, which is really very safe. For example, your body actually makes hydrogen peroxide, which is why you can use it as a mouthwash. It kills germs, but it chemically reacts. Like if you ever sprayed hydrogen peroxide on a open cut or scrape, it immediately starts to fizz and bubble up kind of white because it chemically reacts to your blood. Gross yogurt that sat in a hot car. That would be foul, Grandma. Haven't dealt with milk or baby formula yet. Well, if you're lucky, you never will, Umberto. That's all I can say. Nasty thinking about it. Indeed. So indeed. For free just because. Wow, just because you're a good neighbor. That's cool. I wish you were my neighbor. Well, honestly, like, I'm actually that neighbor. Like my neighbors come to me, not just for detailing stuff, but because I can pretty much fix anything. So I've had neighbors come to me because they didn't know what to do when their water heater started leaking or what it even meant. Lady, her screen came off her second story window. So I'm kind of the go-to in the neighborhood. And no, I don't charge for it. My ex-wife was very careful with breast milk. She also carried the breast pump. Yeah, you can probably remember what a good time that is, Umberto. Mill is nasty first. I'm not sure what that means. Is that a typo?
I don't know. Detail. Welcome to the stream. A big fan of your channel, by the way.
Yeah, Sean's told me about your channel, even though you kind of denied it.
It doesn't matter. I still like his channel a lot. A lot of good info on this channel.
No, that's good. Eric Wright, right on. Right on. Milk is nasty first. Oh, so he's responding to first from Puerto Rico, I suspect, where he concurs. Milk is nasty AF. Yes, it is. I mean, seriously, if you spill enough milk inside a car and it's sat there long enough where now it's what's the word I'm looking for? I guess fermenting. It's gone rancid, whatever. It's like it makes me want to vomit. Like literally where I'm going to now have to clean up 2 spills and 2 odors because it can get so nasty, which is different. Like I said, gasoline, mildew, and rotting milk. Those are the worst in my opinion. So I can smell gasoline and it's going to burn my nose hairs, but okay. And I'm going to smell mildew and it's like, oh, gross. But you smell rotting milk. It's like, I want to vomit. And so it's just like, even thinking about it, I can almost conjure up a vomit. Like you open up a trunk, because that's often what happens. Like let's say mom's got a kitty hauler, it's a van, it's going to be in the back. But a lot of people with sedans, like the grocery getters, they, you know, mom or whatever dude, they put the milk in the back, they take a bad turn and it spills, and now it goes everywhere in the trunk. And so they call you up, and it's been like 4 days, and this is after they've tried every remedy they can think of, including dumping a whole container of baking soda on it because they watched someone's video that says, oh, if you ever have spilled milk, just pour a bunch of baking soda on it and it will absorb the liquid and it will kill the odor. It's like, well, all you've done now is just made a big, fat, bigger and fatter mess for the detailer to now clean up. I wish I had a nickel for every knucklehead that tried that. Like literally, they just dump the container of baking soda, and then they shut the trunk, and then they come out 2 days later, and it's just a big, fat, steamy mess. And it's like, oh, time to call the detailer. It's like, great, thanks for making my job worse. I'm the dealership detail queen. Oh, really? You do dealership work? That is a whole separate can of worms. Dealers are cheap. Cheap as cheap can get. What, Sean?
Go on.
I was just talking because I've dealt with dealers, and not only are they slimy and slippery, as a rule, there's always exceptions to every rule. I accept that. Unfortunately, I haven't ran into, well, coincidentally, my next door neighbor is a dealer, and he is the exception to the rule. The best neighbor I could ever have. But every other dealership, they're just all sleazy, slimy guys, and they want to change the rules after the fact, and they're just cheap as cheap can get. So it's just not that you can't make money doing it. You just really got to know the demon you're wrestling with, or the pit viper you're wrestling with. Okay, yes, I purchased a breast pump for 4 sons. 4 sons. Check you out, Umberto. I like that. I actually wanted 5 kids initially, which I ended up basically with 5 kids, but not exactly how I thought it would work out. How about a shart? That's funny. A shard. Now, would that be you that sharded detail it, or you mean you had to clean up from a customer shart with the flu? Like explosive sharding, explosive diarrhea that you have to clean up. That's funny. So he appreciates your admiration for his channel.
Yeah. You're welcome. Detail it.
Yeah, that's cool. Juice free. What up, fam? Detail it. Darren, I was reacting to first from Puerto. Yes, I suspected that. Thanks. Gag. Yeah, gag me with the 2x4. With milk, you will gag a lot and then vomit. Yeah, not necessarily in that order. Sometimes you just like projectile vomit, and then you gag some more on your own vomit while simultaneously gagging on the smell of trying to clean up the spilled milk. Yes, first. Baking soda on milk. I don't know. Go on to YouTube. I suspect someone's teaching these people to pour. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Baking soda. I mean, talk about a coup. Have you ever read Arm & Hammer's packaging? It's like, what a joke. And to me, like, unfortunately, you've already gotten me started, because I was going to say, oh, no, don't get me started on this. But it's like one of the biggest coups in, I don't know, in life. So Arm & Hammer baking soda, they basically dominate the whole world of baking soda, at least here in California. Now, I'm a native of California. Yes, I've lived in the UK for a year and a half. So maybe some of you guys will have an alternate opinion. Here in California, Arm & Hammer owns the world of baking soda. And it's like this catch-all for everything. It's like this secret ingredient that's mined out of the ancient pyramids of Giza. I don't know, but that's how they promote it. So for example, it's like, oh, just put a little carton of baking soda in your refrigerator once a month, and it will help absorb all the odors. Well, basically that's an invitation for people to never clean their damn refrigerator. So they put it in there, and it doesn't work, by the way. Does it diminish odors? Probably, but you could probably put a pile of sand in your refrigerator and it would naturally absorb some of those odors anyways. But it's just such a joke. And I'm willing to bet if you went onto YouTube and typed in like the different uses of baking soda, there'd be endless people that talk about, oh, if you have this spill, or if you have cat urine or dog crap, or you sharded yourself because you have the flu, like just pour some baking soda on it and you're just good to go. I smell, I won't gag, I start vomiting immediately. Yeah. Rinseless gang, juice free. Has juice free been in here before?
Yes, remember we talked about ONR?
I know we talked a lot about it. I don't know, for right now.
It was juice free. Juice free uses rinseless wash for everything. For
Yeah.
interior and exterior.
Because we talked about it, how I was gonna. Is this the guy that?
Yep.
Okay. Yes. And I gave that some thought since then. If Juice Free is the guy that, did he talk about like maybe we didn't know what we were talking about? Is that him?
Yes.
Okay.
But he agreed. He agreed with us in the end.
Yeah. No, I remember that. But point is Juice Free. I thought about that further because I thought about my answer, which I still lean into. But what I did is I dissected a scenario in my head. So for example, let's say I'm showing up and I'm doing what I consider a maintenance detail. And for me, in my world, a maintenance detail means that I'm either going to see it once a week, every 2 weeks, once a month, or once every other month. Anything past that, I don't consider a maintenance detail. But let's say it's one of those situations, and the point of a maintenance detail, if you're out there and you don't really know what that means, it's called preventative maintenance, ergo maintenance detail. So the car never is allowed to really get exceptionally dirty. So because it's never allowed to get exceptionally dirty, you can spend less time detailing it, therefore you can charge less for it. So it's really a cool thing to build up your clientele on that. So the point is if I'm rolling up onto a maintenance detail, and let's say it's a car that I only see once a month, there's going to be a fair amount of dirt and debris that I have to vacuum up. And if they literally don't touch the car, which none of my customers will because that's what they have me for, there might be enough debris where if I'm just using the ONR and I've doused my microfiber cloth in it and I've wrung it out and now it's damp with the ONR and now I'm going to dust it. So my point is that I'm still going to do a pre-vacuum first if there's not a bunch of heavy duty dust and debris on the hard watertight surfaces. Because for example, let's say you do a complete vacuum and it basically looks perfect, and now you come through with your ONR, you're going to kick up some of the dirt, and now you're going to have to vacuum again anyways. In addition to that, if you've got food crumbs in the seats and the seams, I want to vacuum that up while it's dry without introducing any liquids to it, including a wet or a damp cloth with ONR on it. So I was just playing the scenario through my head. It's like, wait, what do I do exactly? What is my exact steps? Which goes back into our earlier conversation about sequence, Sean. So I will do a pre-vacuum first, make sure I remove as much of the dry material. Could be food crumbs, could be just basic dirt, doesn't matter what it is. So now when I come through with my ONR saturated rag and a dusting brush, now I'm good to go. And then when I'm completely done with the interior as far as that goes, now I'm just going to check to see if I have to do any spot touching up with the vacuum cleaner. So there it is. I do both, but a lot of dealership cars for my dad. Okay. So I wonder if your dad's in the business, as in he is a wholesaler and sells cars to the dealerships, or he actually owns a dealership. That's what I would want to know. Yes, Juice Free. What up, fam? As in you guys. Detail it. Yes. Hey, Juice. Apparently you guys know a lot of each other. Sup, Detail Grandma. Sup? What's up? Just clean the refrigerator. No odors will be there. See, that's my point, Umberto. That's why I call it the lazy man's, um, we could call it let's see, we could label that as detailer in a box. That should be Arm & Hammer's new marketing campaign. Detailer in the box. Just put this in your refrigerator and all your odors are gone. It's like, yeah, I would prefer to, and I do. I keep my refrigerator detailed out. Like I do everything that I own because I like clean. That's why one of the things that makes me a good detailer is I actually like things that are clean. I don't just do it because I'm paid to do it. I like things to be clean. Then peroxide and watch the volcano. Yeah, that would be true. My uncles use the first one is called Quick and Easy Wash, and they, being chemically engineers, said that was revolutionary. Then they closed business and opted and create O&R. Yeah, I bet your uncle's kicking himself now. And by the way, like, I don't know, was a few weeks ago, and this is before the internet. In fact, I have a video. I was going to come out with an infomercial, and I was going to sell my wash system, which is basically waterless wash. And I use that Water Sprite chamois. Do you remember that episode, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I was with
clearly
you.
I missed that boat. What?
I was filming it.
You're filming it?
Yeah, when you're making the wireless wash.
No, I'm referring to like 30 years ago when I was
Oh,
married to my first wife, for example. I made this little, and it was before we had cell phones, and so it was like this little. It was even before we had digital cameras or digital video recorders. It was a little tiny compact VCR video recording machine, and I made this little infomercial in my neighborhood on my van, and it's just so funny to watch. But I didn't have the capital to really create the product, and so it's a similar situation as what Umberto's talking about with his uncle. It sounds like independent seller for a group. All right, cool. Well, that sounds like pretty good job security to me, Grandma. So thumbs up on that. That's right. Detail it. Clean the leather seat of a daily driver versus just vacuuming it. Well, there's no hard answer to that. It's really a combination of two things of A, is it really dirty? Is in dirt? And B, your expectations. So is this your car, Kaz? Because in my personal cars, I mean, they're not really getting that dirty. But with that said, is they're still going to get dirty. So when I talk about cleaning, like what you're asking is like, I'm always going to vacuum it. So my cars, as a rule, when I've owned my cars, and I've owned also plenty of black cars, I'm going to wash them, do a maintenance detail on them every week. And when I say wash them, I mean waterless washing techniques, and I'm going to follow up with some kind of spray wax. The interiors always get fully vacuumed and touched up. But because I'm doing it every single week, all I'm using is a microfiber cloth, and this is where O&R could come in. I just don't do it for that. So what I do is I take a microfiber cloth, I spritz it a few times with my all-purpose cleaner, so now it's just ever so slightly damp. And now that cloth is going to be my cloth that I'm going to wipe all the surfaces with, including my leather. So you could call that cleaning or shampooing, because it is a cleaner on my cloth. So you could call that shampooing my leather every week. I don't think most people would call it that, but that's where it kind of gets into splitting hairs. So I'm touching my leather every week with some type of cleaner, but I'm just wiping it down. I wipe down the steering wheel. I go through with the dusting brush to get all the vents and all the intricate parts of the dash and the door panels and so forth. So it depends on how you want to label that. Do I ever take out a scrub brush and leather cleaner or all-purpose cleaner and scrub my leather? Not really, because touching it up every week, it just never gets dirty. And I'm taking my cars to the beach sometimes, so they're exposed to body oils and suntan lotions. And I don't mean thick, gooey stuff that I've spilled on. I just mean because it's transferring from my body onto the seat. But really, when I touch it up, it's enough to just have a microfiber cloth and a little bit of all-purpose cleaner on it. And I found that is sufficient as long as I keep up on it regularly.
But I was going to say too, if you guys want more information on any of these questions you're asking, Darren has a lot of videos showing exactly the question you're asking. Right, Darren?
Yes. And then your channel has the shorter, condensed versions of my videos, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So Sean's channel would be the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, so if you guys want to watch the long version, Darren's channel, my channel is obviously the shorter version. But yeah, so we should move on. Then we got a lot of questions.
Yeah, my uncle used a product to clean their cars instead of soap, but the thing that they used was fluffy JCPenney. That is funny. JCPenney towels. They never worked for that company. You know, back in the day before we had microfiber, we just had cloths that are just notorious of leaving lint, and they just sucked compared to microfiber cloths. How fast do you do a full detail on a sedan, and what does it entail? Well, in simple words, a full detail on a sedan, I always shot for, I'm trying to think, because 3 to 4 hours. But see, the caveat would be that because of my clientele, I really didn't get, because I'm not the cheap guy in the town. So I attract a certain clientele, people that know how to shop value. They have a pretty healthy disposable income. So I never got, even though I did plenty of really trash vehicles, they were the exception, not the rule. So for my customer base, the type of cars that I dealt with, my goal was to do a complete detail between 3 to 4 hours. But there's also another caveat, which is I shouldn't say never, rarely did I have to wash the vehicle first. I was able to basically teach my customers how to maximize their spending dollar with me. And so they would have the vehicle pre-washed before I ever touched it. Now I challenge any of you to try to get away with that and talk about saving so much time and energy on my part, which then also translated into me being a less tired detailer as well as a more profitable detailer. But that's what I would shoot for, is between 3 to 4 hours. As far as the results, my results were always this: to restore the car into showroom-like condition as much as was technically possible or humanly possible. That's what I was always shooting for. Yes, my car, my sister's, which I don't remember what the question was. That if you do a good clean and wipe down once a week, they stay clean. Yeah, exactly. Like, do not underestimate. What's that saying? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's such an overused statement, but it's so true. And people, I don't care what it is, by the way, just know this: whenever you kick a problem down the road and you don't deal with that problem, I can promise you two things. One, the problem is only going to grow bigger. And secondly, the cost to take care of that problem, whether we're talking about money or other types of cost, will also grow exponentially with it. So it's always best to prevent that problem, or don't kick that problem down the road. Deal with that problem right now, because whatever now is, however inconvenient now is for that problem, it's going to be so much simpler to deal with it now than later. I can promise you that. On leather seats, I consider it important to vacuum, especially between the seams. Indeed, because what you'll find in between those seats is a lot of crumbs. And if you don't pull those seams apart and you spray your cleaner on it, that cleaner will seep down into those seams and it will merge with the dry material. And now you just got this like sloppy, gooey, gross mess that you're having to wipe up and shampoo up. And it just doesn't translate well. There are quite a few of these live YouTube themes going on these days. A few of us frequent them. By the way, I've watched more Auto Fetish videos than any other channel, bar none. Learned a lot from Darren. Well, thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. And I'm glad that you have learned some stuff. So thank you very much. O&R is my fave rinseless. Yes. No argument there. I see. Makes sense. Thank you. I keep it pretty clean. What's dirty to me is clean to others. Yes, that's so true. And that, by the way, here's another life lesson. People talk about values and principles. Okay, values is literally just that. It's what do you value in life? Do you value your health, your relationships, your finances? What do you value? Principles is kind of the operating system that you go about in trying to obtain your values. The third component that nobody talks about is this thing called standards. So, with that said, is what you consider dirty, other people would consider clean. That is one of the themes of my life, and this is where standards come in. So, for example, you could talk to someone, like let's say a potential customer, and they say, "Oh, my car's not that bad." It's like, okay, and then you show up and you're like, "Are you kidding me? This is what you call not that bad?" I would hate to see what really, really bad looks like because this is gross. And honestly, in fact, I was just having this conversation with myself today on the way to the beach. And I'm looking at this Mercedes next to me. It's probably a 3-year-old Mercedes, had no tint on the windows. So you could see right through the windows. You could see the whole inside of the cab. But the windows were so gross. And it's like there was no kids in the car. And the couple that was driving it aren't that old. So they might have kids. Because I'm wondering, like, first off, clean your damn windows. That's just gross, And I'm not talking about the exterior because the exterior wasn't horridly dirty, but the inside, you could tell that all this fingerprints and gunk on the inside of the windows is on the inside of the windows. It's like, dude, clean those windows. It's just gross. So my point is this. In life, you'll realize that you'll be having a conversation with someone and you'll compare notes and say, "Oh, I hate pack rats," or "I hate messy people," or "I'm super, super clean. I'm super, super OCD and I just like everything clean." But then you go to their house or you see their car and you're like, "Okay, this doesn't compute. How do I reconcile this?" Because you just told me what a neat freak you are. And now I'm looking at your neat freakness moment and I'm going, this is terrible. Like you need to hire a detailer or something or a house cleaner or something because your standards are clearly not my standards. And no one talks about that. And it's a big mind F. All right, enough of that. I started watching Darren back in 2013-ish. Wow. Yes, it's been that long. Oh, my word. In the 80s, it was funny when people were using Armor All and how leather and dashboards got burned. How about this? How about this story, Umberto, where it's like, oh, don't use Armor All because it will crack your dash. That was the big myth that circulated. It's like, oh, Armor All, it'll crack your dash. I've yet to see that ever verified. And by the way, in my opinion, if your dash is going to crack, it's pretty much going to crack. I don't care how much stuff you slather on it. That I feel like I could actually verify. I wash an exterior, do rims and tires, dress tires, apply spray sealant, blow, vacuum, wipe down 100% every week. It takes me 1 hour. Dude, that's cool. And it's interesting you say that, Juice Free, because that is literally my goal with my own cars is how to do a complete auto fetish detail, maintenance detail on my car and accomplish it in an hour. And you know what's funny? Is if you went to most people and just challenged them to wash their car and they don't really have a clue, but they think they have a clue, as in like how hard could washing a car be? Like literally just for them to wash the exterior of their car only would be at least an hour. By the time they unravel the hose, pull out the whatever they need to wash their car with, the buckets, the soap, the wash mitts, the the bath towel from the house, they're easily going to be into it an hour and they're going to get inferior results. But a person like you and a person like me, we're going to come in, do our magic, and the thing's going to look showroom condition, and I'm going to do it in an hour. So that was it's interesting you said that. Y'all rinseless fans, should you try Hyde or Fen Labs Pure Rinseless? Yeah, what do you guys, anyone want to weigh in on that? Because I can't. I have not tried either one of those products. Hydra, how many reviews? 8. Well, that 5 stars. That's impressive. But once again, I always remain very skeptical of reviews on Amazon.
Well, it's right next to ONR.
Yeah, I see that. What's the Pure Rinseless? I do not recognize that
Well,
brand.
there's many companies who offer these type of products.
Oh, I know. You know why? Because they work and they're super effective. That's another story I never got to finish up. Was weeks ago. I was talking about a guy I knew through Tom Horvath, Gary. He was totally OCD. Had a truck. It was like a Toyota four-door truck. And I told him how I wash my vehicles without using a ton of water and a hose and all that. And he says, "Oh, dude, that's going to scratch the paint." I said, "Gary, I challenge you." I said, "If you can just do it once or twice, I'd be willing to bet you would embrace it." And I showed him my technique, and he never looked back. He was just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe how much time," because he would wash his truck every single week, old school it, gallons and gallons of water to hose it off first. Then he would lather it all up and use more and more gallons and gallons of water to rinse it off. And he would be a guy that would literally take an hour just to do a basic wash and dry it off. He hasn't really detailed the wheels and tires out. He hasn't blown it off. He hasn't done all the other extras. So the guy was into it at least an hour and a half every week just to do a basic wash. And I showed him, and he never looked back. That was like literally, I don't know, 18, 20 years ago. On different car shows, you also saw people using Armor All or the Coca-Cola Pledge to shine tires. How about this? I've seen guys use Pledge to wax their car paint with, and it actually works pretty well. I didn't realize you had your own channels. If you look, Sean, how come our thumbnails, when you have our label where it says your channel and my channel, how come they pop in and out? How come they're not static? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just for the cosmetics. All you have to do is go to the description, and it'll show the channel, and they can subscribe.
So Sean's channel is Shine Like a Pro AZ, as it says right above his thumbnail. My channel is Auto Fetish Detail. And shoot, when did I start my channel? I think it's been at least 12 years, might even be 14 years now. I don't even know. Pre-washed cars. Holy shit. The master. You damn straight, man. And what's funny is I've literally had this conversation with a handful of detailers, and when I even tell them, like, "Oh, have you ever thought about having your customer wash their vehicle first?" It's almost like I'm insulting them, and their brain literally shuts off because they're like, "Wait, what do you mean? Like, that's part of my job is I'm going to wash the car." I said, "Yeah, I get it. I get the logic behind it, but what if I'm telling you it doesn't have to be part of your job? Like literally, do you enjoy washing a car? Like, anyone can wash a car when it comes down to it. All you're doing is removing the superficial dirt. Like, the car wash can do that. That's not really expertise. Now, in case someone out there is saying to themselves, like, "Oh, I would never let any normal guy wash my car because my car is pristine. I've had the paint corrected." It's like, okay, that's a different scenario. But when you have a one-off detail, which is typically 99% of your customers, it's like, "Oh, it's been 3 years. I've owned my car. Time to get it detailed." Okay, washing is not rocket science. It is grunt work. It is time and labor intensive just so you can begin doing what you're hired to do, which is detailing. Therefore, it's like, what if, because this is what I challenge myself, it's like, what if I could get a customer to pre-wash their car first? Now, I'm not going to tell you the secret that I use to get them to do it. I just know that I figured out a way to get them to do it, and I had success. So 99% of the time, my customer would have their car washed, and this is the talk part of the talk script I gave to him. I said, "Okay, cool. I've got you down for this Friday, 10 a.m. As a reminder, get your car washed anywhere from a day to 3 days in advance, and I will send you a text 5 days in advance as a little reminder." And another thing I've been able to do this with is cash. Like, a lot of guys will say, "Oh, I only take cash," but then I dig in and I find out that they're still taking checks written out to either cash or to their name. It's like, okay, in my world, that's a good alternative, but it's still not cash is king. Cash is king for a reason. And I operated up to the very end with people still paying in cash, which in today's digital world, pretty much 99% of all transactions are happening digitally. So the fact that I can also manage my customers into having cash on hand, I would say is a trick. And I figured out how to do it. So I'm just going to blow my own horn on those 2 points.
We're getting close to the end, and we have some questions.
Okay, let's blaze through them. Whenever a customer tells me my card's not bad, my mind says run. Yes, well put.
Oh, sorry.
People love to, you got to look at the fact that honestly, most adults are just children. They're just children that have figured out how to play adults. So what I mean by that in the context of detailing with or dealing with customers is they're just petulant children inside. They want what they want. So they're going to figure out ways to manipulate you to get more of what you can give them with less money. So they will often misrepresent, oh, my car's not that dirty. Yes, I can hardly wait to see what not that dirty looks like. In Puerto Rico, dashboards cracked by using Armor All. Our cars at home never had cracked dashboards since we never used Armor All. Okay, well, go run with that then. Also, a good rinseless is Drive, Auto Appearance Rinseless, and DIY. Yeah, I've never heard of those either. Besides Phoenix, is that who makes the Hydra? Is Phoenix? I don't know what the acronym EOD. You looked those up, Sean, but I didn't really do a deep dive with my eyes.
We can look it up next week.
Yeah,
because we're running out of time. So
okay, let's play clay or clay mitt. Which one you like? I like them both. It really, to me, the difference is which one will induce more micro marring. I hate using that term, but it's appropriate. I'm of the opinion that most of the clay mitts will do more marring of the paint. So if that's a concern for you, which most guys would probably say it is, but in many cases it's not, because if you're going to polish with a buffer afterwards, it's a non-issue, and I would lean into a mitt then. They are very friendly. I don't like the fact that you can't fold them on each other. You have to lay them out because they get so tacky. So really it's just a combination of you're always trading off one benefit for another. So clays and mitts are just like trade-offs. OG mop and glue on tires works like a champ first, old school trucker stuff. Yeah, isn't that true? Mop and glue. That's funny. And I think, since these guys are old enough, this is why people talk about wax buildup. Like, oh, do you have to make sure you remove the old wax off the car before you do anything with it, before you polish it or wax it, because you don't want to get wax buildup. It's like, people, this is not your kitchen floors from 50 years ago where mom used to bust out the mop and glue and would literally create a layer of wax or whatever the stuff was on your floor that you'd have to strip off. That's not how car wax works. Okay, next, Sean, anything else? Is that it?
I think that's it. Does anybody have a question before we end the stream?
Down in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And by the way, guys, give it a thumbs up on your way out. Subscribe if you want to, help us. And then tune in next week, Saturday, Sunday, 6 p.m. And we will see you on that bat channel and that bat time. And I am peace out, Sean. And thanks for tuning in, all you guys and girls. We'll see you next time.